Hey, I'm back with No Frills Hi-Fi. Today I'm making kind of a long video. I've been talking about upgrading from my moving magnet cartridge, which is a Sumiko Rainier. I've been looking at upgrading from this to a moving coil for quite some time. It's one of those things where you need a lot of stuff to do that. You got to have a phono preamp that can run moving magnet cartridges. To me, if you're going to do it, you probably need to go ahead and get like a really good Headshell. Not that there's anything wrong with this. This is an Audio-Technica. Forgot what model it is. Probably should have looked at that first. I think it says it on here somewhere. AT-LH11H. But, if I'm going to do it, I'm just going to go ahead and upgrade everything just to kind of round everything out. But I have been wanting to do this for quite some time, so I'm kind of excited that I finally am getting to do that. I got a Denon DL-103R. The reason I went with this cartridge is my turntable's a Denon DP-1200. This is the upgraded version of the cartridge that would have originally come with it. It was a DL-103. This is the 103R. Did a little bit of research, and they're very, very similar cartridges. I think they just used like a little bit different copper wiring in it. I'm sure somebody will call me out on that. There's probably some other differences, but it's close enough that it's what I wanted. I didn't want to go with, an older used cartridge or a cartridge that's like new old stock. I just wanted to kind of go ahead and get this straight from Denon. This cartridge is $4.99 on the Denon website. And then I went ahead and got another Headshell. I got a Audio-Technica AT-LH11H. The reason I went with this Headshell is it's heavier. This one is a very light Headshell. I don't remember exactly how much this one weighs, but this one is 11 grams. The Denon DL-103R loves to have a lot of Headshell weight. It actually needs more than this, but I'll get into why I didn't get one that's heavier in just a few minutes. Also, this does come with the Headshell wires. In case I forgot to mention it, this one is $99, so $100. I also got some new Headshell wires. Yes, I could have used the ones that came with that. There's nothing wrong with those. Don't hesitate to use them. Why did I buy the Audioquest ones then? Well, I love Audioquest for one thing. These are bigger, beefier wires. They're multi-stranded. I really like them a lot. They are, let's see, $69.95. I have to keep looking at my cheat sheet. $69.95 directly from Audioquest. Again, you don't really need it. But I feel like, you've already spent $100 on this. You've spent $4.99 on this. You're already up to $600. Why not spend an extra $65 and go ahead and just kind of get everything? So let's go ahead and start getting things opened up and take a look. Alright, so we've got the instructions here, and oh, that's kind of nice. So it's got like a little thing here that just kind of shows, the quality inspection, and it also shows some of the specs here, like the load and track force, things like that we're going to need to set up once we're done. Probably make a second video for that. It does come with like a little bitty Stylus brush that Stylus brush. I guess it is stylish. Yeah, I probably won't ever use that. Here's what we came for though, the Denon 103R, and so it is screwed in. It's got the screws that you'll need to mount it to the head shell. You can obviously change those out if you don't like them, if you prefer something else. I probably will use those if they're long enough, but getting into the head shell weight thing, I'll explain in a minute why I may not use those. But let's go ahead and get this out. It's just a little flathead screwdriver, flathead screw on the back, and the little nut is just kind of knurled, so you can't actually get like a wrench on it, but you can just kind of hold it with your finger, and that's usually enough. And we got that. And let's go ahead and grab this other one. There we go. And let's try not to lose those nuts. There we go. So if you can see that, they're just kind of a little knurled nut. Hopefully these are long enough. I do really like these screws. I've got some other ones that I can use if I need to, but we'll see how that goes. We'll set that aside. All right, so now for the head shell. I really, really like these head shells because they're so adjustable. A lot of head shells that you get, they're just kind of the way that they are, and you have to play with moving that cartridge around to get everything the way that you want it. I really like that with these. They've got a lot of adjustability in them, and that way I can get everything tweaked just how I want it. I'll show you how I do that in a minute. It's got all this paperwork in here. Yeah. All right, so there she is. And you just kind of twist it and it unlocks and you can pull it right out. So you can tell right away this is a lot heavier duty than this one. It is a little bit shorter, but like I said, it is adjustable. So I'll show you how to do that in a little bit. Now, like I said, these head shell leads, I'm going to get rid of those. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with them. I kind of like the idea of getting the nice heavy-duty Audio-Technica ones. And I suppose if I was doing my due diligence, I would try them with those first and do an A-B comparison. Yeah, I'm not really going to bother with that. These are the ones that I want. These are the ones I've wanted for a long time. So that's what I got. So we've got those. To pull these out, you can use a couple different things. You can just use some tweezers. I don't have nice rounded tweezers. These are pretty pointy, so they kind of pinch a little bit. You want something a little wider if you can get it to kind of spread that pressure out. These would work just fine. I would use them in a heartbeat, except that I also have these long needle nose pliers. You can use shorter ones. I just like these because they're so fine at the end that it's easy to kind of get in there. And I'm just going to replace them kind of one at a time. So I'm going to get this red one. You want to get as close to the end as you can, and you don't want to just really squish down on it. You just do it enough to be able to grip it and pull it right out. So I've got that one, and I'm just going to do them one at a time. Like I said, there's the red one. I'm going to put a red one in. All right, so you can also see these are a little bit longer. Not really an issue because I know I'm going to have to move this back. Like I said, it's adjustable. So I'm kind of ready for that anyway. I'm going to go ahead and get this green one out. And oops, put that over there. So I'm sorry I'm not really holding it towards the camera the whole time, but I also have to see what I'm doing. I'm better at audio than I am at videography for sure. So that is a little tight on there. Let me try the other end. Might need to adjust that for the cartridge. All right, so that way it didn't hold at all. Let's see what's going on here. So you can kind of pinch them closed a little bit. You don't want to, kind of like I said before, you don't really want to force it. I am going to check this though, because it could be that one end is a little bit bigger than the other. And if I'm going to force it onto something, I want to force it onto the head shell. I don't want to force it onto the cartridge. Yeah, that's a little tight, but it fits. And that's very tight. So I'm going to take this very tight one and I'm going to shove that one onto the head shell. Because like I said, I don't want to force anything onto that cartridge. You really do want to kind of baby the cartridges. And it's not that it's, you know, really difficult to get on there or anything. There's nothing wrong with it. It's just, you know, they kind of all have a little bit of different measurements there. So this one is so thin at the tip, it's kind of sliding on. So I'm going to get the one that's just a little bit wider. That way it grips it better. There we go. And let's switch over to the other side. We'll get this white one out. So some of them, especially with these top ones that are kind of closer to the top of the head shell, you sort of start to run out of room there, but you know, you finagle it enough, you're going to get it in there. It's just kind of hard to see what you're doing with that pin in there. There we go. Yeah, that's a little loose. I'm going to flip it around, try the other side. Like I said, if something's going to be loose, I want it to be on that side. I can always crimp it down a little bit when it comes time to put the head shell on. Yeah, I don't really like that. That's a little loose too, so I'm going to go ahead and pinch that. And you can kind of see, it's really hard to see, I don't know if you can see that or not, but it's kind of rolled and the end of it is open, so you can kind of just close that gap by pushing in on that. Let's see, well, that's not much better. Let's try that again. A little bit more pinch. You just don't want to go crazy and do too much. You know, obviously if you flatten it out, it's going to be really hard to use. You may even have to replace it, and it'd be kind of a shame to have to spend another $65 on this. Let's see what that did. Oh yeah, that's perfect. Okay, so last one. There we go, and this one's the blue one. And that one's a little loose, so I'm going to flip it over and try this side. There we go, that's perfect. Alright, just double check everything, make sure it's not sliding off. So there we go. So what you can do this a couple different ways. You can go ahead and just kind of move these aside, screw the head shell on and kind of finagle them in, but you don't have a lot of room to work. So I do prefer to just go ahead and attach them now, then you can push it back. One thing I'm going to do though, I know right away just from looking at it that I am going to have some trouble getting these longer wires in, and I know from reading the manual on my turntable that I'm going to want 50 millimeters between this little rubber washer and the tip of my needle. So, I mean, I feel like I'm going to need more. And if you don't have a set of calipers, I mean, you can use just about any measuring device. This is a cheap Pittsburgh set of calipers. The digital part doesn't work. It stopped working, I would say, seconds after I bought the thing. I'm just going to set it to 50 millimeters just to kind of see where we're at, if we're even close. Yeah, so this is going to have to go back some. Obviously, I don't have the cartridge on there yet, so I don't know exactly how much yet. But I'm going to go ahead and just kind of slide that back just to give me some room to work, and then I may need to slide it forward or back more once I get it. But there's this little Allen screw right there. You just loosen that up a bit, and then this can slide. Maybe loosen up a little bit more. There we go. And, oh, you know what? Okay, so this pinches this together. So that's how, basically how tight it holds it. There's another Allen screw right there that fits in this little channel. So now that I've loosened that up, this thing is super wobbly. So we want to make sure we get that back in that little channel. And I'm just going to put it back right about there. And I'm going to go ahead and tighten this down. I actually didn't probably even need to mess with this one, but I did. All right, yeah, so that still slides. And I'm just going to go ahead and tighten this one down. So I really do like that about this cartridge, or this head shell, that I can do that. Now let's go ahead and start hooking this up. So you don't really need a diagram, although it does have the little lettering there that kind of tells you what's what. But you're just going to basically run them straight across into here. So you don't really need to pay a whole lot of attention to what you're doing, as long as, you know, the bottom right goes into the bottom right, that kind of thing. So I'm just going to kind of see if I can push that in with my hand. And that is not going to work, so we're going to need this. Get it lined up just right. All right, so that's going to take a little bit more pressure than I would like to put on it. So I'm gonna do it the other way around. I'm gonna go ahead and pull that off, and I'm gonna see if I can do the other side. If not, I may need to try to open it up a little bit. You can kind of open these up as long as it's not totally flat. If you mess up and you totally squish it down, you're probably stuck with it the way that it is. Well, now that's too loose there, so yeah, we'll go back. It does take a little bit of messing around with it. I'm going to go ahead and just tighten that up just a hair. So there's a lot of trial and error. Don't get discouraged. It does take some time to get these. I'm sure there's people that do this all the time that, you know, could just throw this thing together. But to me, this is kind of part of the fun of it, is just taking your time and enjoying what you're doing. All right, so let's see if that end is a little bit better. Maybe a little bit, but not quite enough. So let's try this end of the needle nose. There we go. All right. So I always like to do the bottom ones first on the cartridges, just because it's just easier to get to them because they're on the bottom. But you can do whatever order. It doesn't make any difference at all. So we'll do the red. There we go. So I've got two of them on. One thing I do want to note, always keep this cover on. If you don't have a cover, if maybe you're changing it out and you've had that forever and you threw that thing away 20 years ago, just be very careful not to touch that stylus, because you don't want to do anything that's going to damage that. So I always just keep the cover on until I'm ready. For me, if that is not on the turntable, I am not taking that cover off. The only exception will be when I go to measure the length. Let's push that a little more. When I go to measure the length of all this, I'm going to take that cover off and just be extremely careful not to tap it with that. So now I've got it on, and you just want to kind of fold those wires in a little bit. I've seen people that twist it up. I've seen, people that make a nice little curl in it. Yeah, I suppose there's some merit to that, but for me, I just kind of push it on there, and I've never had a problem with it. It may not be the prettiest thing in the world, but it certainly works. So there's 2 screw holes here. If I use the front one, the cartridge sticks out a little bit. Hopefully I won't need that. I'm going to try to use that next hole back, because I really don't like having that stick out. So real quick, before I go any further, back to why I chose a lighter head shell than what is typically required or liked by the cartridge. So if I put this together and just kind of hold it, it's really kind of hard to see probably with my fingers in the way holding it together, but this piece of the head shell sticks out below the needle. So if that's sticking below the stylus, that means that's going to hit the record long before the stylus, and we really don't want that, obviously. We need something to move this cartridge up. So I got a little box of these shims. They are made by LP Gear. They are, I would say, expensive for what they are. They're $8 a piece. They are just a little metal shim. It's the same size as the cartridge. It's got the little holes for the screws. Yes, you could easily make one of these yourselves. There's nothing to it. Why did I spend $8 a piece on these? Because a couple of reasons. One, I don't have to make it myself now. And $8 a piece with what I've already spent, it's kind of a drop in the bucket. But what I also like about these shims are 1 gram a piece. Exactly, I measured them to the 100th, and they are 1 gram a piece. So I really like that it's easily controllable how much weight that we're putting in there. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to see what the thickness is on one of those. And I don't know if this cheap caliper goes down that far, but it is it says 1 millimeter. Let me see here. Yeah, they're 1 millimeter thick. So now I'm gonna stick a caliper on this, and that is right at 20. So now I'm just going to kind of hold this in. I am not going to take that cover off, because I am just going to kind of eyeball roughly where we're at here. So I keep it set at 20. Yeah, and it's right at 19. So if I put 1 shim in, I will have them even right at 20. I'm going to add a couple of shims. I may actually add all 3. Well, I've got 4. But I may go ahead and add 3. Let me see here. All right, so what I'm looking at, there's a little bit of, almost looks like solder or some kind of welding material, probably from where they drilled the holes out. It just kind of left a little bit of stuff on there, but I just broke that off with my finger. I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't something, you know, horribly wrong with it. Not that a little thin piece of metal could really have all that much wrong with it. I gotta be honest, I would prefer to have just one solid 3-gram shim instead of separate ones. I don't know that there's much of a difference between using one shim and 3, but I guess I don't really like adding stuff to it as much as I like subtracting. So, you know, anything you put in there, no matter what, I feel like probably affects the sound in some way. It's just a matter of how much you want to affect that. And the more that I look at it, I don't know that I need 3. I think I'm going to take that one out. Let me get the one that has the stuff on it, or had the stuff on it. All right, so we're going to go to 2. And I think that's going to be perfect. And really 2 is what I had planned on. 2 is 2 grams is exactly what I wanted to add to this thing. The hard part now is just going to be to try to hold everything together lined up while I get those screws in. So I'm just going to kind of try to get one started on one side first. There we go. Ooh, so right there, that one is not long enough. Had I not put the shims in, it would have been perfect, but I did put the shims in. So now I'm going to go here. I've got a whole bunch of different screws. So I'm just going to see which ones that I like. That one's a bit long. Ah, there we go. That one's perfect. So I'm going to leave that one in, and I'll change it out in a minute, but I'm just going to go to the other side and go ahead and get this one in. That way it kind of holds it in. I don't have to mess with it quite so much. And I'm going to see if this will thread into that. Let me go ahead and grab the other one. Because I really do like these knurled nuts. The other one has regular nuts, but I'd have to put them in from the bottom up, and I'd have a kind of a funky looking nut on the top. So yeah, these will thread right into that. So I'm just going to go ahead and use the ones that came with it, and I'll just save those screws for another project another time. Got that. And like I said, these are knurled, so you don't have to really do much. You can just kind of hold them. You don't need a wrench. You can just kind of hold them with your finger, because you're not gonna be putting 1,000 pounds of torque on this thing. You're gonna snug it up real good. But I don't have any torque specs on it. I don't know that there are such a thing as torque specs on these. If there are, I'd love to hear it if anybody does know. But I have yet to ever hear one. All right, so I've got that one just kind of started, and then I'm going to go ahead and pull this. Okay, well, sorry about the glitch in the video there. I wasn't paying attention to the time. I'm using a Nikon Z5 camera. It's a mirrorless camera. It's not for video. But it's what I've got because I like to shoot pictures mostly, so it only records 29 minutes, 59 seconds, and I wasn't paying attention, and it stopped recording. So I did finish up getting these screws in. Honestly, you didn't really miss anything. I just got the other one put on the other side, just like I would that. The big thing is just make sure that it's not turned either way, that it is straight. And then you should be good to go. So that's really the only thing you missed, was just me kind of eyeballing that and making it straight. This is the point now where I want to make sure I get the proper distance between the stylus and the end of the tone arm. Based on my manual for the Denon DP-1200 turntable that I don't know why I pointed to it, it's off camera. But anyway, the turntable, the distance should be 50 millimeters. This is the one time that I'm going to take the cover off of this when it's not on the table. So you do want to be very careful when you do this that you don't damage that stylus or you've just thrown away a $500 cartridge. If you don't mess it up too bad, you can get these repaired. You can get them re-tipped. I'd really rather not do that though. So I'm just going to go ahead and set my calipers to 50 millimeters here. Let me get, there we are. So I'm just going to go from this little gasket to the tip of the stylus. I don't know if I'm going to be able to hold it where you can see it because again I'm going to try not to damage that needle. So I'm just going to kind of do it where I can see it. If you can see it, great. If not, you'll just have to trust me. Okay, so it is over about a millimeter. Honestly, if I push this back to where it's even with this end of the head shell there, that's probably all I need. I'm going to go ahead and put this back on while I do this because I don't want to mess that up. And let's go ahead and get this loose. I'm not going to make it terribly loose because I want to make a small adjustment to that. Alright, so just from eyeballing it, I think that's it, but let's make sure. So again, I'm going to take this off. Just be super careful when you do that. If I drop this, you'll see me cry on camera. I don't really want that. So that's right on the money. So I'm going to put this back on before I make a mistake. It does make me very nervous to have that off. And now that I've got it, I'm just going to tighten down both these little screws. Oops, that goes on the other end. I did that again. All right. And that's it. So I almost made it to the end without that camera cutting off. That would have been cool. But as you saw, there is some trial and error to it. Like I said, I'm sure there's people that could have put this thing in 2 minutes. If I wasn't talking and getting distracted, I probably could have done a little faster, but if I'm being honest, it wouldn't have been a whole lot faster. I'm going to do a video next. I don't know if I'll do it separately. I'll probably do a separate video of me just putting it on there and showing you how I measure it. I may just tack it on to the end of this one though. But once you get that distance set up there, if you've made sure that that is square, honestly, it makes it very simple once you put it on the turntable. There's not really a whole lot that you're going to need to do. Hopefully, we're going to test it and make sure. But yeah, I appreciate it. Don't forget to like and subscribe. This may be the end of the video. I haven't decided yet. We'll see how long the other one drones on. But appreciate it, and we'll catch you later.